Hey everyone, we're going to get started in a minute here. It's going to give people a little bit more time to join if they um, want to, and we'll get started right at noon. You can see my screen. We're going to be doing a presentation today on how to read your bill. This is a question we get pretty often, so hopefully we'll be able to answer your questions today. We do have a Q&A function for this webinar, so if you do think of any questions throughout the webinar, I ask that you enter them into that section, and at the very end, I'll do my best to answer any questions you have. Let's see here. It looks like we're off, so we'll get started. Okay. So to start off, let's just quickly discuss what the relationship between PG&E and Pioneer is and how it affects your billing. A common question we get is, which one is supplying my energy and why do I get charged by both? Sorry, I lost my mouse. But in Placer and El Dorado County, as well as the cities of Grass Valley and Nevada City, Pioneer is the default electric generation provider, while PG&E still provides a delivery service. So that means that Pioneer produces the energy for all of the residents and businesses in our service area, and we supply it at a lower cost than PG&E. But PG&E still continues to deliver electricity to you throughout the use or through the use of their lines and poles. So they also act as our billing agent in order to provide a more streamlined experience for customers. In the end, you're a customer of both, but you're paying each for different services. So having Pioneer as an option means you get to choose who supplies your electricity. Choosing us means that you receive the benefit of lower rates and a choice in energy products. We also have exclusive programs and exceptional customer service. So if you ever do have billing questions, you're more than welcome to contact us, and we're very happy to help. So now that we've kind of covered that, let's dive into the bill and discuss a few key pages and how they all tie together. So I wanted to point a couple things out before we get to those key pages. Some of the most important things you want to pay attention to are your rate schedule and any programs you might be on. So let's see here. The rate you're on will determine what price you pay for energy and how your energy is metered, and even how your programs are applied. So if you're part of specific programs like medical baseline, those will be applied differently depending on your rate schedule. So here we're seeing two examples of a customer. One is enrolled in E1, which is a tiered non-time of use rate schedule, and another customer enrolled of time of use D, which is a time of use rate schedule. Let's look at the E1 bill first. Because this rate is not time of use based, it doesn't matter what time of day you use energy. It's all going to cost the same amount. However, it does have a tiered structure. So once you've used your tier 1 allowance, you go into a higher tier 2 price for delivery. Your tier 1 allowance is determined by a couple of factors. So one is the climate that you live in. And then the other one is your heat source. So if you have an electric heat source, you get a higher baseline allowance. This customer is also enrolled in a program called Medical Baseline. So this particular program increases that baseline allowance, which gives the customer the ability to use more energy at a lower tier 1 price. So as you can see, their original baseline allowance was 306 kilowatts, but with the Medical Baseline program, they received an additional allowance of 493 kilowatts. So that allowed them to use more energy and still stay in that tier 1 allowance, and help to lower their bill. So the second customer is on time of use D, which is one of the many time of use rate schedules available. This particular time of use structure is based on, you have a peak price based on the time of day. So for this one, it's peak pricing from 5 to 8. All other energy outside of that period is considered off-peak. And the energy inside that peak period is going to be a little more expensive. So you can see on this bill that the customer's charges are split into two sections. This is because the rates change from winter to summer. So another component of time of use rates is that the pricing does change seasonally. And this customer is doing pretty good at conserving energy during the peak period, which is when energy is more expensive, and that's what's helping their bill to remain on the lower side. They are also part of a program called CARE, which applies a 35% discount to the bill. So you can see that the discount is applied right below their energy usage. Okay, so that's kind of just an explanation of where you can find your rate schedule and what programs you might be enrolled in and how those affect the rest of your bill. So now we'll get into the pages of the bills themselves. So there are three really important pages you're going to want to pay attention to on a typical bill. And we're going to start with the first page. So that first page gives you a summary of your total charges for the month. You're going to see your PG&E delivery charges. You're going to see Pioneer's generation charges. And if you have gas service with PG&E, you're also going to see their charges there too, but we're not going to get into that today because we're just talking about the energy. The total amount due is also going to be on this page, and that's going to be a combination of both your delivery charges and generation charges, and again, gas if you are a PG&E gas customer. This page also shows you what programs you're enrolled in. So you can see over on the far left that this particular customer is enrolled in the life support program and medical baseline. If you were enrolled in CARE or FARE, you'd also see that there. And if you're a NEM customer, you would see that in that section. Okay, so the next two pages that we're going to want to look at are typically pages 3 and 4 on the bill. And those are going to be labeled details of PG&E delivery charges and details of Pioneer Community Energy electric generation charges, which is kind of a mouthful. The page 3 on the left is where you're going to find the delivery charges. Since PG&E charges by the kilowatt hour for delivery, this amount will change from month to month, depending on how much energy you use. And if you're on a time of use plan, it's also going to vary depending on what time of day you use energy. So you can see on this example that the customer is actually on an E1 rate schedule. So that price that they pay for delivery does not depend on the time of day, just the volume of energy that they use. So this customer had a baseline allowance of 352 kilowatt hours, but they used a total of 939 actually. So that first 352 kilowatts were delivered at a lower price than the remaining 587. On the next page, you're going to find Pioneer's charges for the energy itself. So this is referred to as electric generation. And for an E1 customer, the energy is actually purchased at a flat rate. So there is no increase in cost for the energy itself after you pass that Tier 1 allowance, just the delivery of that energy. A little more detail on those two pages. So we've kind of clarified that question of why am I paying for both PG&E and Pioneer? So we talked about the two components. You have PG&E for delivery and Pioneer for electric generation. Now let's talk about how that actually works out on the bill. So prior to becoming a Pioneer customer, you received bundled service from PG&E, and that means that you got both delivery and electric generation service from them. But as a Pioneer customer, those services are now unbundled, and you pay PG&E for the delivery and Pioneer for the electric generation. Because PG&E no longer provides that electric generation service, you receive a credit in the amount that they would have charged you. So this is to ensure that you're not being double billed for the service being provided. They're not providing electric generation service to you anymore, so they give that back to you, the amount they would have charged. There's also two additional line items right below that. You'll see the power charge and difference adjustment, or sometimes just referred to as the PCIA, and the franchise fee surcharge, or FFS. So the PCIA actually ensures that bundled customers don't pay an unfair share of legacy contracts PG&E purchased before alternative energy providers came into the picture. So before Pioneer and other CCAs or direct access existed. And they want to ensure that the customers, the energy contracts they purchased for customers aren't disproportionately allocated to the remaining PG&E customers. So everyone pays these fees, but the amount is determined by your assigned vintage year. So you'll notice kind of circled in red at the bottom underneath the electric delivery charges is a vintage year. Pioneer customers are assigned a vintage year based on the year that their area left PG&E for Pioneer. So in Placer County, most customers have a 2017 vintage, and in El Dorado County, most have a 2021 vintage. New this year would be Grass Valley and Nevada City, and most people have a 2023 vintage. Both the PCIA and franchise fee are accounted for when Pioneer sets the rates in January, and that's to ensure that our rates remain competitive and that these don't offset the savings for our customers. So after the credit and the PCIA and the franchise fee are applied, what's left over are your delivery charges. So all customers pay the same rates for delivery regardless of who you receive energy from. So whether you get your energy from PG&E or Pioneer, the cost for delivery will always be the same. And as I mentioned before, Pioneer then replaces your electric generation charges on the next page of the bill. And because our rates are lower, we pay less for the energy itself. Okay, so we've gone through the most important parts of the bill, and hopefully you have a better understanding of how it works and why you're paying two different companies. And now I'm sure you want to know how you can verify that you're actually saving money each month on your energy bill. So we actually created a savings calculator worksheet that you can use to very easily determine what your savings are with Pioneer. And you can use the numbers we just discussed on those two previous pages. The savings calculator worksheet is available on our website. It's on our rates page, but you can also calculate your savings without the sheet as long as you know the basic formula. So I'll go over that right now. So the first step is to enter the numbers from page 3 and 4 of the bill that we just went over into the first 3 sections on the sheet, which would be the generation credit, the PCIA, the FFS, and Pioneer's generation charge from page 4. So adding together the numbers in steps 2 and 3 on the worksheet will give you what Pioneer's total charges for electric generation are. Next, just subtract this number from the generation credit in step 1. So you would take that total amount you're paying Pioneer for electric generation and subtract it from PG&E's generation credit. And what the difference between those two numbers is the savings that you receive as a Pioneer customer. So in this example that we used for this bill, this particular customer saved $16.60. You can use this same formula for any bill that you have, and it will allow you to see what your savings are each month as a Pioneer customer. All right, and so here's some contact information if you have any questions about your bill or really anything else Pioneer related. You're more than welcome to contact us. We're happy to answer any questions that you have and yeah, discuss your bill with you. So at this point, I will go in and see if there are any questions asked, and I'll answer those. Still have time right now to answer any questions you might have. Let's take a look. I actually don't see any questions in the chat, but again, you are able to contact us, and if you think of any questions in the future, we're happy to help. We do have 2 more webinars scheduled coming up in the near future. So we do have a NEM webinar scheduled for November 22nd. That's going to be the same as this webinar, but it really focuses in on customers who have solar, specifically net energy metering. And then we'll also have another webinar on January 10th for solar billing plan customers. So customers who have solar that are not on net energy metering. Typically, these are customers who had solar installed within the last year or so. So if there are no questions, I will leave off here, and I want to thank you guys for attending and hope to see you in the next one. Thanks.